You're listening to The Briefing, first broadcast on the 26th of June 2026 on Monocle Radio. Hello and welcome to The Briefing, broadcasting live from Studio One here at Midori House in London. I'm Thomas Waterhouse. Coming up on today's special edition of the programme, we're dedicating the entire show to our new quality of life issue, which is hot off the press, and we can now reveal the top cities on our annual ranking of the best places to set up home. Our delighted senior Asia editor, Fiona Wilson, is standing by in our winning city. Fiona, tell us where you are.
I am in Tokyo. I am in Tomigaya, the little neighbourhood that Monocle has called home for the last 10 years, sandwiched between busy Shibuya and lovely green Yoyogi Park.
Well, many congratulations to Tokyo. We'll be coming back to you to talk more in just a second. Elsewhere in the programme, we'll be crisscrossing around the globe to speak to our bureau chiefs and correspondents in the cities which have raised the bar and made the grade. And we'll also be chatting to the postcard collector Tom Jackson about the joy of writing and sending holiday memories. And we'll be grabbing our knives and forks as we go on a culinary tour through one foodie neighbourhood of our winning city.
Only 5 minutes away by train from the lively Shibuya, this laid-back locale is the perfect antidote to the hustle and bustle of Tokyo.
All that right here on this very special briefing with me, Thomas Waterhouse. Welcome to this Quality of Life special and a very good afternoon from London, a city that hasn't quite made it onto our winning list this summer, but it's a city that we all love nonetheless here at Monocle. We've popped a key question on the cover of our new magazine, and that question is, are you having fun? For this bumper July and August edition, here at Midori House, we've been discussing, deliberating and deciding which are the best places to live, work and call home, the capitals or communities that we think facilitate daily life and inject lots of fun. This year we've tried to focus on two markers, which are joy and ambition. Do these places make us feel happy, enthusiastic and cared for, and do they dream big? And as you just heard, our winning city this year is Tokyo. I'm joined here in Studio One by Monocle's foreign editor Alexis Self and by our senior Asia editor and bureau chief in the Japanese capital, Fiona Wilson. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon, Thomas.
Oh.
Fiona, you're still there, presumably?
Don't worry, I'm still there. Sorry, I just was uncorking the champagne.
Great. Lex, let's start with you. This quality of life survey is something of a fixture now in Monocle Life. We first started compiling this survey way back in 2007. What types of criteria do we adhere to, and what is the actual decision-making process?
Yeah, it's been running every year in the magazine. So we're on our 19th edition, and the rationale, the thinking behind it hasn't changed since then. You mentioned in your intro, we've focused this year especially on excitement and fun. Now, these things are difficult to quantify, or at least ascribe a kind of data point to, and yet they are integral to our enjoyment of a city and the way we think about it and experience it. So rather than just focus on data and quantifying things about city life, which you can, of course, do, we decided to combine the quantitative assessment with a qualitative one. And so we asked people like Fiona, who know these cities so well, a list of questions that we think are important for ascertaining what it's like to live in a particular city, and we combine those two things, the quantitative and the qualitative, and we have a discussion among our bureau chiefs, our correspondents and editors here, and that's how we come up with the final ranking.
There are 20 cities that feature on our final list. How many of them have you been to, and which is your favourite, if I dare ask?
I haven't been to all of them, unfortunately, but I hope to. And which is my favourite? You've really put me on the spot there.
It's a difficult one to decide.
I'll get back to you on that, Thomas.
Okay. Well, okay. We'll wait to hear what Alexis's favourite city is. Fiona, coming to you now. You've stayed up late to join us from the winning city. How are you feeling about this top spot for Tokyo?
I've lived here for a long time. I never get bored for a second. Just the quality of life is so good here. I mean, I don't even know where to start. The transport's brilliant. The food is great. Shopping's obviously amazing. But it's more about just living here is very, very easy. People, go out of their way to be nice to you. Things work. And I think there's just a general quality of life across the board. And I think what Lex was talking about there, where you're looking at qualitative and quantitative, it scores high on both of those markers. So, yeah, very, very happy to see Tokyo back at number one.
Lex,
I've got an answer for you. And actually, I think my answer demonstrates how it's very difficult to be definitive about these things and how this is a conversation. I visited Stockholm for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and I guess it wasn't bigged up that much to me in advance, and perhaps as a result, I was it was love at first sight almost. I really enjoyed my time there. It's so green. It's got such a beautiful setting. The people are so welcoming. It works. So today, when you asked me which of those cities is my favourite,
you finally decided.
No, I'm saying Stockholm, but in a few months' time, that might change. I think, cities are such protean things. They're constantly changing and evolving, and really, more than anything else, they are the people who live in them. Those people, change and new ones come in, and cities are constantly in flux, and that's why we do this thing every year, and that's why it's. The ethos behind it and the themes within it inform so much else of what we do here at Monocle. And it's not just this standalone thing. It's strands, it's threads run throughout the year.
Fiona, I want to come back to you if I may. Tokyo has come top of the class, but Monocle still has a couple of recommendations about how the Japanese capital might do even better. What are your own thoughts about the tweaks that could be made?
I mean, no city is perfect. Come on. We know that. But I think, overall, you're thinking very, very high satisfaction rate. I mean, we mentioned one thing, might seem a bit frivolous, but it's sort of cut to the core of, I think hospitality is such a big thing here. The way people are in restaurants. And I don't mean like Michelin-starred restaurants. Any restaurant you go to, it could be a ramen shop. And I'm not thrilled to see the rise of the QR code menu. Very, very much opposed to that. Very easy, has made life easier. And obviously we've had a lot of tourists who come here now. And you can do it you can have a multilingual menu without any trouble. Nobody needs to speak to each other. But I think communication is so lovely. And one of the nice things I've always really enjoyed about Japan and bringing friends and family here is it doesn't matter if you speak the language or not. People have always muddled by. They muddled through. They get each other. You don't actually have to speak perfect Japanese. People want to give that hospitality. So, yeah, I think I want to hold on to that sense. Very important.
And Fiona, there are other Asian cities making our list this year, like Seoul and Singapore. And actually, there's a double win for Japan because Kyoto is tied with Perth, Australia in 20th position. What is Kyoto doing so well?
Well, I mean, Kyoto is just this wonderful city. It's obviously, it's the old capital of Japan. Got this incredible history, thousands of temples. It's got the river running right through it. And it's still it's a city that it doesn't reveal itself that quickly. People arrive at this very, very modern station. You come off the bullet train from Tokyo and you think, hang on, where is this ancient capital? It's a bit misleading at first. And I think one of the charms of Kyoto is how it reveals itself slowly. It's very, very delicate and these wonderful, there are gardens everywhere. And I think there's a slightly slower pace, and certainly people I know who've gone to live in Kyoto find that Tokyo is a bit faster. But it's got everything. It's got history, amazing city to go to university, and many, many universities. And it's, it's surrounded by by maybe overdo the mountains, surrounded by hills, and you can really sense nature. And that's one of the big things about Kyoto, the seasons. They like to talk about 5 seasons in Japan because there's a rainy season to add to the usual 4, which we're currently in. And I think you really sense that in Kyoto everywhere. There's this wonderful greenery, foliage, flowers changing, and the food really follows that rhythm of the seasons.
I want to bring Lex back in here in the studio for one final question. Just how important is this index for urban dwellers, for city authorities perhaps, and for Monocle's own readers?
Yeah, I think crucial. As I said earlier, it's about starting a debate, and people will, depending on what stage they are in their lives or their own interests, have weight things differently when it comes to assessing what they like about cities. And as I said earlier, it's about having that conversation. I think at the moment it's interesting as well because on a national level, politics seems so polarized, and it's difficult to get anything done because people are so divided. But cities, as they have been throughout history, are the kind of engines of human progress. And I think at the moment they are the places where leaders, civic leaders, and again that factors, that factors into our decision making. How ambitious is the city? How ambitious are its leaders? How able are they to get things done? I think you're seeing in cities novel ideas to perennial issues that everyone the world over is facing. You're seeing them being devised and implemented first in these cities, and so that every entry in the survey has a little kind of potted roundup of the past year, and a big part of that is what's being built, what new policies are being implemented, and how is this city trying to solve issues for its own citizens, but also that can be applied worldwide.
Okay, my thanks to Fiona and Lex. That was Monocle's Fiona Wilson in Tokyo and Alexis Self here in Studio One with me in London. Now here's Hassan Anderson with the day's other news headlines.
Thanks, Thomas. At least 235 people have been killed and around 50,000 reported missing after 2 powerful earthquakes struck Venezuela within minutes of each other. Rescue teams from around the world are racing to reach those trapped beneath collapsed buildings, with officials warning the death toll is expected to rise. US-mediated talks between Israel and Lebanon have been extended for a 4th day after negotiators failed to reach an agreement on a phased withdrawal of the IDF from southern Lebanon. Officials say the gap between the two sides has narrowed, but key disagreements remain as Washington pushes for a deal before the talks conclude. Rome's 2 main airports are threatening to suspend parts of EU's new biometric entry-exit system during the summer, warning it could cause severe disruption for travellers. Airport operators say that the passport checks have already led to long queues and missed flights, with pressure mounting on governments to allow temporary exemptions during the peak travel period. And Sony is ending sales of its Aibo robotic dog in Japan, bringing to a close the latest chapter of the interactive pet 8 years after the current model became a surprise hit for its ability to perform tricks like waving and mimicking its owner. The company says that support services, replacement parts and cloud subscriptions will continue after remaining stock of the ERS 1000 model sells out. Those are the day's headlines. Back to you, Thomas.
Thanks very much, Hassan. Let's talk now about some of the other cities making the cut in our annual ranking of our quality of life issue. Monocle, of course, has several satellites around the world. Joining me now from Lisbon is our senior foreign correspondent, Carlotta Rebello. We also have our Oslo correspondent, Lars Bevanger, and from our Zurich studio, we have Monocle Radio producer, Desiree Bandley. Good afternoon to you all from London.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's great to have you all with us. Carlotta, I'm going to start with you simply because your city has scored higher on the list than Oslo and Zurich. What does Lisbon living mean to you?
Well, Lisbon living means enjoying the sunshine while getting some of the best food in the world, a cosmopolitan city, and stunning views of the river and the hills around you. So what else is there to say about this fantastic capital? You know, Lisbon has ranked third this year, and for good reason. We keep referring the fact that this is one of the safest European capitals in the world, and that is now more important than ever. But also the array of new museums, particularly related to modern art, that have opened in recent years, and of course, as I mentioned at the start, the hospitality scene, and of course Lisbon Airport as a hub for connections across the Atlantic and to the African continent too. So those are just some of the many reasons why I think we're very much deserved of this position in this year's survey.
Carlotta, we've singled out the independent spirit that we can find where you are, especially in the retail sector. Do you have perhaps a favourite shop or a favourite shopping district or a favourite market that illustrates this point?
Well, I don't have just one favorite, because I think it's particularly the mix of it all that makes it quite interesting. You know, going through the historic center of Lisbon, so the Baixa, the downtown, that's where you find the majority of the shops that belong to the Lojas com História program, the shops with heritage program, which was developed and is maintained by City Hall precisely to preserve those independent retailers that have been trading in the same very spot for decades, and some of them for centuries. And being able to have access to that while you have some of the more modern brands in the same city is a huge factor. And then the other side is the markets. You know, Lisbon is a city where the majority of people, they do a mix of going to the, big chain supermarket, but also their local farmers markets for, their fresh fish and meat and the vegetables. And I particularly like markets like Campo de Ourique, which at night turn into little restaurants and bars. And it's that ability to transform a space throughout the day that I think keeps a city vibrant.
Desi, in Zurich, I want to bring you in. You're next in the list. The Swiss city that you call home is sixth on this ranking. What does daily life look like for you, and what do you particularly enjoy about living where you are?
Well, first of all, I have to say for us, this is not a good position. So we're not, there's absolutely no champagne being open here for being sixth. I've even gotten back. I was like, when was the last time we started so low? And I've seen in 2019, we were number one. And from then we were like second, third, fourth, but sixth, very low for us, not even being in the top five.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, actually we do suffer. We do suffer. You might not believe we like rankings. So for me to be number six, I mean, congratulations to Fiona and Carlotta, but not very pleasing result for us.
Monocle has pointed out that housing is still a concern where you are, but you are really leading the way when it comes to public transport.
I think it's hard to beat us on public transport. Trams, buses, whatever you take, they're on time. Ships, it doesn't really matter, and we keep on improving. So basically every single vote we have about public transport always gets approved in high numbers because we like spending on it. And we even have, this year we've had the biggest timetable change we've ever had to make it even more efficient. And just to be like how efficient we were, overnight they had to change 2,500 signs, and they just did it like as if it's nothing.
Desi, I also want to point out that you've actually penned a new piece in our current issue about how the city of Zurich is succeeding in staying cool, which, given the heat wave which is currently gripping Europe, is very timely.
It is, yeah. We wrote about all the different fountains. So we have, I didn't even know that, we have more than 1,200 fountains in the city. And we are so close to our fountains, we've created like a district by district guide. So you can go online and you can look for a favorite fountain with a little description of what it is, when it was built, and where it can be found. So yeah, we definitely is it. And obviously, given the high quality of water, so basically all of them are drinking water. So it's perfect to cool down.
Lars, I don't want to leave you out of this discussion. You're in third place behind Zurich and behind Lisbon. The Norwegian capital has come 10th place in our listing. Are you happy with your ranking?
Oh, we're ecstatic. This is the first time Oslo's climbed this high, and being top 10 is just brilliant. And I must say, on a day like today, you really see why. Oslo is basking in about 25 degrees. It's a little bit overcast right now, but it's lovely. It's a super green city now in June. You just realize how green it is. If it's too hot, you can go swimming in you could choose between 50 swimming places if you include the many lakes in the forest. You can jump on a boat from the city centre, get to one of the little islands out in the fjord and cool off out there. So right now it feels very, very livable.
Oslo, I should just point out, has pipped neighbouring Sweden and the Swedish capital to the post, with Stockholm coming just behind Oslo in 11th place. What does that mean for the rivalry between Norway and Sweden?
Oh, it's very sweet. It's very sweet. Whenever we beat the Swedes at anything. Now, this also, they're really angry at us now, actually, because it turns out that Norway is also good at football now, all of a sudden, at the World Cup. But enough about that. But it's hard, really, to compare Oslo and Stockholm, because Stockholm is so much bigger. The topography is different. It's much flatter. It's a series of islands. Oslo is just a fjord city. I enjoy both immensely, but I do think that Oslo has a feel of much more happening and regeneration. There are lots of stuff happening. Lots of stuff happening in Stockholm as well, but Oslo feels like a city which is really reinventing itself at the moment.
We were talking to Fiona Wilson earlier in the Japanese capital, and she was saying that no city is perfect and we can always improve. What could be improved in Oslo, do you think?
Well, I mean, apart from the obvious, tourists seem to complain about the prices. I don't think the prices are that crazy anymore. A lot of European cities are becoming very expensive, and the Norwegian currency is relatively weak against the euro these days. So to be a tourist there isn't that bad. Certain points, there's a massive old flyover, which is a remnant of a big, horrible ring road, which has since disappeared underground. That's still hanging as a sort of a doom over the Grønland area, which is a really cool developing area with lots of immigrant population, lots of markets. But this flyover is just casting a massive shadow. It looks horrible as well. And there's been talk for many years that something needs to be done, get rid of it, but they need to find a different solution for the traffic going through there. So that's my main bugbear. So I just hope that in not too long we'll see that monstrosity go.
Okay, let's wrap up that discussion there. Thank you to Carlotta Rebello in Lisbon. That is third place in our Quality of Life survey. Desiree Bongli in Zurich, you're in sixth place. And Lars Bevanger in Oslo in 10th place. Thank you all very much for joining us here on this special edition of The Briefing. You're listening to Monocle Radio. You're back with The Briefing on Monocle Radio. Now, if you flick to page 219 of our new issue, you'll find a very nostalgic and colourful spread titled Answers on a Postcard. It's dedicated to these rectangular cardboard missives we often send to our nearest and dearest, either to tell them about our travels or maybe just to make them a teeny weeny bit jealous about our trip. Across this spread, you'll find vintage images of parasol-filled beachfronts, fishing boats, hotel bars and swimming pools, and even locals in traditional costumes seemingly poised to dance. Joining me now here in Studio One at Midori House is Tom Jackson, a postcard collector and author of the book Postcard from the Past, who put this spread together. Good afternoon to you.
Hello there. Hi.
Thank you for coming in to talk to us. Today we're focusing on lifestyle choices and the little things that can bring us joy and improve our lives. How prolific a postcard sender are you, and what does it mean to you to send or receive one?
Personally, well, I slightly feel obliged to send postcards because I've put quite a lot of effort into talking about postcards the last almost 10 years or so. So, yes, I do feel obliged to send postcards, but I never actually stopped sending postcards. I think it's a bit like milk delivery. People are rediscovering having their milk delivered. Well, I just didn't seem to stop having my milk delivered, and it's the same with postcards. So, no, I like to send a postcard for a very simple reason, which is I know how nice it is to receive a postcard.
I'm looking now at our current issue, and I'm turning to page 219 to have a look at some of the images. It's a really a colourful spread of different postcards from around the world. What's your personal favourite?
Of these ones here?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know, really. I mean, perhaps my favourite is one we don't actually illustrate in the article, but which I talk about, which is a card which was sent, I think, in 1975, if I've got that right. And this was a card which refers to the death of Franco. Oh, look, I found it in front of me. I'll pass it to you now.
Brilliant.
And what's interesting here is that most postcards, obviously, are telling you the small and interesting detail of your holiday. And in this case, the correspondent, her holiday has been impacted by global events. And so she just catches that moment when she can't go to the bar because the bars are closed and you're not allowed to play music because Franco's just died.
Just on that point, it's not just the pictures on the front of the postcards that fascinate you. We also learn lots about the actual words that people send to each other. I know that people in France, because I lived in France for a long time, they tend to write something really short and simple, like, just hello from so-and-so, hello
Yes.
from this place. Whereas when I write a postcard, I try to, go into great detail and send something of an essay. What have you discovered about what people like to share from their holidays?
Well, it's interesting because this is one of the great tensions, really. Which side of this card do you really look at? And I'm always drawn to the message first, personally, because I'm always intrigued by the personal. If you like, a postcard is mass-produced. The image is mass-produced. There are many thousands of that card with that donkey. But there's only one with that message on the back. So it's that tension between the industrial and the personal in that sense. And I think really the messages that I find interesting are those that are most artless, where people are either very open with their emotions, they're having a wonderful time, or maybe having a dreadful time, but they're open about it. And equally ones where people are just so excited and in the moment that they write things that are inadvertently ridiculous.
When we look at this spread in the magazine, it's really a glimpse into a different kind of world, maybe a different time. What have you noticed about the change in the style and the format of postcards?
Well, the biggest change is that they're not anything like as popular. It's as simple as that. People aren't really sending them. So to some extent, this spread is catching something which it just doesn't exist anymore. People don't, it costs a lot of money to buy a stamp. It's not easy to buy a stamp. And of course, you have the great competition of all the digital social media, but also messaging services. So it's so easy to take a picture of your hotel and send it to your loved one's home and say, "Here, look at the hotel I'm staying in." You don't need to buy a postcard.
But what do you say to the countless people around the world who we see regularly just, snapping a scene like a beachfront in Biarritz or a market in Marrakesh, and then they keep that photo for themselves and never share it? What do you say to those that are keen to get just a quick snapshot of the world?
I think that's absolutely fine. I think postcards are not photography. They are a subset of a sort of published version of photography. So there isn't a kind of battle between photography and postcards. They're different things. And if people want to take pictures and keep them to themselves, that's great. But it's sad if things never get printed, because we all know that the digital world is somewhat evanescent.
But is it sad that people don't share the photographs and the tales that they have from their holidays?
I think it depends on how you look at it, because you could think that if you share a great deal, you're slightly boasting. I mean, we know about the whole influencer syndrome now, where beautiful pictures are taken with a view to share, to impress. So I think it's a double-edged sword. Perhaps you're sharing, if you're just sharing a little anecdote with your relatives, that's lovely. But some social media, for example, it is a semi-public space. There's a slightly different mechanism to a postcard which is sent to one person. And often, that's one of the things I find interesting about the messages, often they mean something to the person who's sending it and something to the person who's receiving it, and not a lot to anyone else. So if they say, I hope Snowy is behaving himself, they know that they're looking after the dog for them. But no one else knows that.
Okay, Tom Jackson, postcard collector and author of Postcard from the Past. Thank you very much for coming in to talk to us here on Monocle Radio. Thank you very much. You're listening to The Briefing. We're ending this special quality of life edition of The Briefing back in the city that has triumphed in our survey. And I hope you're feeling hungry because we're heading to Tokyo's Sangenjaya district, where a diverse food scene, cosy coffee shops and hidden away speak-easies offer much to whet the appetite. Hannah Pham takes us on a tour of this calm but culinary corner of our winning city.
Sangenjaya, or Sancha to locals, is a charming area of West Tokyo filled with independent eateries and bars. Idyllic quiet backstreets are packed with hidden gems offering everything from concept sushi restaurants to cocktail joints, buzzing izakayas and decadent burger spots. Only 5 minutes away by train from the lively Shibuya, this laid-back locale is the perfect antidote to the hustle and bustle of Tokyo. Start your day off exploring Sancha slow with a coffee and a pastry. Down the street from the main station is Junibun Bakery, a welcoming boulangerie fusing Japanese flavors and Western baking techniques. Inside, you're greeted with rows of delicate cakes, baguettes filled with butter and red bean paste, and an assortment of donuts. The bakery also doubles as a flower shop. As soon as you enter the cozy space, the smell of freshly baked fluffy bread loaves and delicately arranged pastel flowers hits your nose. Grab a coffee, a slice of strawberry cheesecake, and peruse the plans. Once you've worked up an appetite strolling around Sancha, hopefully with pit stops at the tranquil Setagaya Park and the serene Saishoji Temple, walk down a leafy residential path filled with friendly neighborhood cats and Shiba Inus, and you'll find Bear Pizza Poco. This small pizzeria is the ideal eatery for a long, leisurely lunch in the summer. While they offer full-size 30-centimeter pizzas, I recommend getting their smaller tanto sizes to try as much of their menu as possible. My favorites are the 4-cheese, calabrese, and the classic margarita. While you're there, make sure to grab one of their freshly squeezed lemonades and enjoy the cool Tokyo breeze. If after that you're still peckish, pop over to the Sun Loves Here for the fluffiest freshly made cheesecakes. The cafe stays true to its name. Lots of natural light pours in as a mix of Japanese and Western indie music plays over the speakers. It's the best place for an afternoon respite. The blueberry cheesecake is a standout and pairs well with their refreshing iced lattes. Do try a bottle of their chilk, cheesecake custard, if you get the chance. There's an abundance of great sushi places in Tokyo, but none quite like Sancha Monica. Tucked away in the basement of a shopping mall, the menu has all the fan favorites: fatty tuna, sea urchin, and salmon roe, alongside a selection of wine, an uncommon pairing for sushi, which is usually enjoyed with sake or green tea. Though a la carte is available, I recommend the prix-fixe menu, which features the best of their seafood selection, with free-flowing wine and soft drinks for 90 minutes. Make sure to book in advance. If you're looking for a nightcap, look no further than Coffee Bar Silo. Duck under an arched doorway on Susuran-dori Street, and you'll find the dimly lit bar with just a handful of counter seats. You're welcomed with a hot towel and an assortment of chocolates and nuts to nibble on while you sip. The bartenders are thoughtful and passionate, taking the time to explain where each element of your chosen cocktail is sourced from, and even show you the bottle of the spirit you're drinking. If you're feeling something citrusy, get their Kochi Yuzu Gin and Tonic, a refreshing take on a classic G&T with a Japanese twist. If you're in the mood for a kick of caffeine, go for the Herbal Espresso Martini, a fragrant, floral version of the traditional cocktail. Open until late with an extensive menu of creative and tasty concoctions, this little speakeasy is the perfect way to end the day and your food tour of Sangenjaya.
You were listening there to Hannah Pham in Tokyo. And don't forget that the full Quality of Life survey and the ranking of our best 20 cities is all featured and detailed in our July and August issue of Monocle, which is out now. And to make it extra special for you this summer, you'll find that there are 4 different limited edition covers to collect and to keep. And that's all for this edition of The Briefing. It was produced by Chris Chermak. Our researcher was Josefina Astrid Nagle-Gomez, and our studio manager was Christy O'Grady. The Briefing is back on Monday at the very same time. I'm Thomas Waterhouse. Thanks very much for listening. Have a brilliant weekend. Enjoy the place that you call home, even if it didn't make it onto our list this summer. And goodbye from everyone here at Midori House in London.